Okay, camera's going. Yeah, I got another one here for you. This actually was kind of an unscheduled idea for a video, but I just had something happen in my personal life. I'm not going to go into details, obviously, just for the sake of the individuals involved, myself included. And it's not even really going to be about them. It's more about what I observed happening. If you guys have been watching the channel for the past couple weeks, and the things I've been discussing. By the way, my name is Joey. This is the Jigsaw0097 channel. If you guys are new here and you enjoy what I'm about to say, or if you've already seen some of my videos, please consider subscribing, liking the video, commenting. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get better at throwing that in there in the beginning of the video, but yeah, what I was saying though is if you've been watching my previous videos, I've been talking about the dialectic, which I haven't really got too into detail of where that comes from, but essentially it's just the Hegelian dialectic, if you guys know that concept. It comes from Hegel. It was applied by Marx. So where a lot of like communism comes from, but the point of the dialectic, and I've talked about this through a Christianity lens, specifically Orthodox Christianity, is that the dialectic is very much like a worldly entrapment, is the way that I envision it. Because one of, you could say, Satan's tools, I guess, right? If you guys don't believe in God, this can still apply to you. You could just apply this to like the elites. But one of the tools that's used in the metaphysical type sense is that a way to control is you get something trapped, something or someone trapped in a dialectic, which essentially is me versus you. So the reason why Orthodox Christianity and the Trinity to me is so profound is because that solves the dialectic. I think of it like the triangle. The tip of the triangle is God, and then you have the two dialectics down here, right? Like the God solves it because it's above the dialectic. That's a way to think about it. But again, this can still apply to you, even if you don't believe in God. Like you can be a philosopher, and you can still apply this, like using like Aristotelian ethics or even Plato metaphysics. There's a higher good, right? Like my justification, obviously, is you can't have the higher good without God, but you can still conceptualize this in like a divine mind or divine sort of sense, if you guys are following me, right? And so yeah, I've been discussing that quite a bit, is that there's really no way to solve the dialectic. Like I've been struggling this with my whole life. It's really just been the last 4 years that I started reading a lot more, as you guys can see. Started reading a lot more, and really just in the last year, I've been getting into the actual theology, Orthodox Christianity lens of it, and that's really been unlocking things for me. So it's one of the reasons why I started making these videos again, because I'm like, I've actually got intelligent things to say. I like to think, right? I mean, I could be wrong. If you guys don't enjoy this, then yeah, feel free not to watch, but if you do enjoy it, thank you very much. And so what spurred this video on is that I kind of saw the dialectic in action today, and I'm going to kind of go on a little bit of a journey in this video, if you guys can bear with me. But again, I'm not going to be naming anything specific. I'm really more talking about concepts and what I just dealt with with a good friend. And so you guys I'm making this video because in a way, I'm sure you guys experience this all the time, because we live in clown world, as I've always talked about. We live in a post-liberal, post-God, complete hellscape, if I'm being honest. That's the society that we have inherited, whether we like it or not, right? The boomers have inherited us a world, and the boomers were heavily propagandized themselves. We could just say over the last 100 years, we were given a world, a post-World War II world, that doesn't make a lot of sense unless you understand what is going on. And so that's another goal with a lot of these videos, is that I want to kind of explain what is actually going on. To quote the, if you guys know, you know, to quote the great Coach Red Pill, Gonzalo Lira, he used to always say at the end of his videos, understand what is going on. May God rest his soul. He was a great man, in my opinion. I learned a lot from him, and absolutely tragic what happened to him in Ukraine. You guys can look into that. But yeah, what he says is true. Understand what is going on, especially now. Like, I think that if you don't understand logic, if you don't understand how to use logic, if you don't understand how rhetoric works, these can actually be like detrimental to your health in the modern world. Like you actually can, not only physically through stress response, you can actually like go insane if you don't understand what's going on. And a lot of this, for a lot of people, we got a microcosm of this in 2020. I always bring it up because it's probably the most significant event of my life, right? I'm going to be the boomer one day in like 30 years, provided something worse doesn't happen in that time. But I'm going to be the boomer in 30 years talking about the pandemic still, but it's very profound. And the reason I bring it up now is because a lot of people went through that, like myself, and it did trigger a sort of spiritual immune response in them, realizing like, yeah, hey, the emperor has no clothes, right? Like this is a bald-faced lie. This is a complete scam. I need to look into this further. So a lot of people were inoculated in that sense, and as time goes on, you know, we're kind of like liberated more, because it's like, yeah, we're not insane, right? That's another thing about society. If you don't understand what's going on, you're going to have to fall to the experts, and if you fall to the experts, they're going to lie to you and you're going to go insane. So I don't know why I keep bringing up the insane thing. That wasn't what this video was about, but again, what I observed today ties into it. And so basically what happened today is I was talking with someone about the concept of manspreading. And if you guys know what this is, it's this stupid feminist thing that happened, I want to say like after the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement was really like a pivotal moment, I'd say, for millennials and Gen Z specifically, because the Gen Xers didn't really have to deal with this, because they would have been like already in their like late 30s, early 40s at this time when Me Too struck. If you guys don't know what Me Too was, that was basically when all the women came out and exposed Hollywood, right? I mean, this is obvious. If you've even read about Hollywood, this really has nothing to do with women particularly. It's just that Hollywood is a giant cesspool, and by the way, that's why they won't release the Epstein list, but I digress. It's a microcosm for the absolute rot of our society. Like, Hollywood is a core of that, always has been. Like, even when people talk about the porn industry, like, this all stems from Hollywood. I've said in the past, and maybe I'll make a review about this, but there's a movie called Babylon that came out in 2022 with Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt. It's a very tough movie to watch if you're sensitive, but it is one of the best movies I've ever seen in like revealing Hollywood. It almost feels like they made this movie at a time too, like Hollywood's on its way out, as we all know, because it's like it's finally like dying. And it was a movie that was kind of made as like a tribute to Hollywood. I don't know, but whatever reason they made it, it was one of those things that like told on itself. And you can read plenty of books too. Jay Dyer has wrote, he's coming out of the third book. He's wrote 2 books on esoteric Hollywood that I recommend reading. There's a book by Billingsley, I think is the last name. I always forget the guy, Lloyd Billingsley. It's called Hollywood Party. Learning about McCarthyism is key. But again, if you go all the way back to the beginning of Hollywood, the entire point of it was to create basically just like a giant sex ring. I mean, that's as simple as that. They were doing very weird things in the desert. It's kind of that simple. So to get back on track, like, what is Me Too? Where does this come from? Me Too comes from traumatized women. And in a way, we're kind of all traumatized. But the way women are traumatized is through the rampant sexuality in the media in general, right? This bleeds into your real life. And this is what I'm talking about, where you need to understand what's going on. Because if you don't understand what's going on, you won't see the propaganda, and you'll be traumatized by it, but you won't know why. And a lot of us are coming to this point now where we are realizing why, but it's absolutely vital that you understand why. And so this is why I go on these long tirades, why these videos end up being 30, 40 minutes sometimes, because I feel like I need to lay the groundwork. And I don't know, like a new viewer could be watching, right? You may not have seen my other videos. So I need to like lay down the groundwork for the topic at hand. And again, by the way, if you watch 10 minutes in, my name is Joey. This is the Jigsaw 097 channel. Please consider subscribing and liking the content. I appreciate it very much. But Me Too comes from feminism. Feminism comes from sexual trauma, and that is basically what happened today. So I did the offense of manspreading, which, again, this comes from Me Too, but what manspreading is it's just when a guy sits with his legs open, right? It's kind of stupid. When you actually think about it, it's actually stupid that that's a complaint. It's like on the same level as like mansplaining, right? Because we do already know this, especially if you're like in the MGTOW or manosphere, you already know that we live in a complete feminist takeover society. We live in the longhouse. I really like that term. The dissonant right came up with that, so I give them credit. But the longhouse is a fantastic metaphor, because we basically just live in this longhouse of women governing over everyone, and essentially it's a nanny state. And all of this comes from trauma. In many ways, it was the goal as well. It was the goal to begin with. The goal of the elites was to destroy masculinity, so there's no way for men to revolt in any way, shape, or form. And then it's also a good way for population control, which they're very much into. I've gone over and over and over a couple videos about what the elites have gone up to, so I won't go into that part as much. But the feminist angle is key here, because again, when you understand what's going on, you can like trace everything back to its beginning, right? You can go back to the presuppositions. You can go to the origins of where these ideas may have come from. And it's basically like manspreading, right? When someone says that, where does that come from? Well, it's feminism. Then it goes to sexual trauma in the 90s, especially if you're a millennial. You grew up with Britney Spears. You grew up with Jessica Simpson. Avril Lavigne. Who's that other one? Shakira. There's another one I'm trying to think of. Christina Aguilera, that one. All of these like highly sexualized, and this isn't even to mention the Disney Channel. You have the Disney Channel, you have Nickelodeon. All women are fed their entire lives are two things: is that you need to be as sexy as possible for as long as possible. You're never getting old is the worst thing that can happen to you, and then you need to get into the workforce as fast as possible. Why do you need to get into the workforce? Because you will not have a husband. You cannot rely on a man. If you even think about relying on a man, you're going to be horribly abused, and it's just a nonsense. This is not what I believe. This is what they've been propagandized to believe. I don't even think many women believe this deep down if they introspectively ask themselves this. But that's one of the burdens of women, I would say, is that they lack the ability naturally as men do. Now again, I have to say not all women, but women in general, they lack the ability for introspection through the use of logic. That's more of a masculine trait. Again, it's one of the reasons why the genders complement each other. The man is the more logical, leader of the household, and the woman is kind of keeps the man sane, keeps the man going, kind of thing. And so, yeah, I get in this weird fight over me I was sitting like that, and it triggered the fight. And then as we were talking, basically, she wouldn't talk to me anymore because I microaggressed on her. And so that's about the most of the detail I'm going to go in, because again, I'm not trying to call this person out. This is actually a dear friend of mine. So it just made me want to make this video about trauma. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to call it, but yeah, that's what it got me thinking about specifically today, is that the amount of trauma and the amount of propaganda that has been combined in people's brains at this point in a miasma shitstorm, whatever you want to call it. It's like a powder keg that is just always set to go off, because I've noticed that too when you live around people like this. which I'm, again, I have a lot of friends like this. It's not even like there's sane people in the world, but there's definitely more people that are like traumatized and not as sane nowadays. Aaron Clarey wrote that book. It's a great book. It's like a little pamphlet called Sanity is the Future of Wealth. He's absolutely right about that, actually. I think the most sane people in the world are going to be the ones that make a ton of money, because it's going to be good and bad. You're going to have it's going to be like a therapy revolution again. Hopefully more in like a Christian sense from my view, but there will be a lot of scam artists, we'll put it that way. That's what I was trying to say. But it will get to a point, and I'm just seeing it more in my day-to-day. It's like I'm trying to avoid, I'm naturally a pretty confrontational dude, but if I respect somebody and I know there's like certain things that they don't want to talk about, like I'm pretty good at remaining within boundaries, we could say. Like if somebody sets a boundary with me, then I'm pretty good at like staying in it if I respect you. If I don't respect you, then I don't care. Usually you're not my friend anyway, so you're my enemy, so I don't care. But if you're my friend, then I'm pretty good with it. But I'm just noticing more and more day to day that even people that you've known for years, that you think you can just do things that just trigger them. And it doesn't even make sense. Like I said, I spread my legs because I'm a dude and I have balls, okay? Hey ladies, just so you know, the reason that men spread their legs is because they have balls. It's not a transgression. And yeah, I like that meme too. Hey ladies, mansplaining is short for man explaining. So, but yeah, it obviously the feminist stuff is cringe. Like I don't even take this stuff seriously, and I don't really care actually that this person got triggered. That wasn't the point of the video. The point of the video is that I was just thinking, like, if I didn't know what just happened, I would have been like so confused. That was like basically what spurned this video on. Like we're 17 minutes in and I'm finally getting to kind of the meat of the video. But I basically, we got in this argument, and she kind of like wouldn't talk to me anymore. She like timed me out or whatever. And so I had to like leave the situation. Basically, the day was over. I was planning on spending the whole day with them, but the day ended up ending early because of this. But what I'm getting at is that if I didn't know what happened, I wouldn't have been able to even decipher what it was. And essentially, that's all it was. It was someone that is deeply traumatized and propagandized by the culture, right? And this is not really just to completely crap on the women. I hate feminism as an ideology, but the women have been traumatized by feminism. And so that's basically what happened, is it just triggered something in this person. And that's why I went to great lengths to kind of explain the history of feminism, where this stuff comes from. You can go deeper into it, right? Like books like The Feminine Mystique, written by Betty Friedan. I think Mary Wollstonecraft. I always get her name. You can trace this all the way back to the beginning, right? The suffragette movement. The suffragette is very interesting to study because you'll actually learn that most of the women did not want female rights, right? That's another big lie that women have been told in the modern world, is that they like overthrew men and gave themselves rights. Yeah, that's not what happened at all. I call feminism a luxury ideology because men allow it. Feminism can only exist when you have a set of circumstances like ours, where all of our material comforts are taken care of for the most part, and then the men allow it. And why would men allow something like feminism? Well, it does boil down to that. It boils down to, well, the men, there are certain men, we'll say that the elitist men, they can get a lot of sex out of it, and that's basically it. And then you've got like the swinger types, right? There's a certain subset of men that benefit from feminism, but the majority of men and there's a certain subset of women that benefit from feminism too. But the majority of men and the majority of women do not benefit from feminism. It's why society is crumbling around us. That's actually the core issue. I mean, we're 20 minutes in now, so I can just say you can talk about the Jews, you can talk about the politicians, you can talk about Trump, Biden, whatever. The fundamental problem is actually that men and women are now, and you're seeing this with the Zoomers. They did a study on this. The men are going far right, and the women are going far left. So you literally have a dialectic divide between men and women now. That is the most damning thing in society in general. I would also say the immigration, obviously, seems like the Trump admin is dealing with that. We'll see. I've criticized it in past videos. I'm still not completely sold on him doing this because he doesn't seem like he has the urgency that I would need if I was Trump. But the fundamental, and this is where Trump actually completely fails, because his wife Meliana is like a complete feminist. His daughter, Ivana, I'm forgetting her name, Ivanka Trump. She's a complete feminist. I think back in Trump's first term, they were bragging about, well, we got all these women in the workforce. So Trump's not going to solve that issue. But this is where I think Christianity, the return of religion, there's a lot of things going on in the actual, I call it, Oswald Spengler would, in the Decline of the West, would call it the spirit of the age, the seasons, right? We're kind of in the fall, maybe winter season now. So we're at a point now where the reason I bring this up is because we're kind of at a point now where it doesn't really matter what the politicians do, because what's set in motion is going to, reach its inevitable conclusion. So the society will, and I believe through Orthodox Christianity, you're seeing a resurgence of Christianity, especially in men as well. And ultimately what that's going to lead to is the woman thing will get under control. All the things, the Jews, all this stuff will kind of get taken care of in time. But the fundamental issue is the women, and especially in the like current moment, men and women just can't see eye to eye on anything. It's like everything becomes a feminist argument. And I use that specifically because that's the only thing that actually triggers women is feminist. Whatever they can make a woman's issue immediately gets adopted by the female brain, because females, they're more in-group preference, they're more hive thinking, so they will follow the herd. I mean, there's a simple way around it. I think I'd make a whole video about this, about propaganda. There's 2 books I always tell people, and watch the show Mad Men if you haven't either. That's a good show for that. But 2 books that you should read is Propaganda by Edward Bernays and Public Opinion by Walter Lippmann. Both of those books basically go over the methods of how you mind control a nation. And the argument that I've made is that everything that they did to get us to this point, largely you get to points like this in society when you brainwash the women, right? There's a quote, never remember who it is, it's over in one of my quote books, but it basically says, if you want to destroy a nation, you go after the hearts and the minds of its women. And so the way that you fix this is, 1, the men just take charge again, but 2, you need to re-propagandize the women. Everything we live in right now is inverted. We live in like a Bizarro. If you know the Superman concept, you've got Superman, and then you've got Bizarro, who's like the opposite of him in every way. It's like the chaos version of him. So you have to just take what's been done through propaganda to get us to this point, and then just start reversing it. Because the way to fix it is you just get the women. The women have this thing called the ick. It's a thing online that's talked about a lot now, that when women have the ick, they're done. That's kind of what happened today, is I gave her the ick. But there's a way that you can use this for positive, is that you need to give women the ick for things that you want to remove from society. So this would be things like abortion, or being an OnlyFans model, or girls going to work, like the things that you don't really want them doing, and really deep down they don't want to be doing. The number one goal of women, whether they admit it or not, is they want to be mothers, and they want to have a family. They want that. I mean, I don't really care what feminists say. Like, that is what women want. There's a reason why women are on the highest amount of antidepressants in the history of humankind. This is one of the weirdest times in history ever, in the history of the world. Like, sometimes to just fathom that is absolutely wild, but it is the reality we live in. But yeah, that's kind of, I've rambled on here for like 25 minutes. But I hope that that's coming across. This video might be about, I might just call it feminism or something. I don't know. I'll think of a title, but it's also, I wanted to kind of explain, and I hope I did that in the beginning of the video, like how this goes on. And this can go on for many different things. I might have to make videos on different topics, because it happens in more than just feminism. It happens in anything. The dialectic is always at play. It's always at play. Even if you don't believe in God, you can think of the concept of like the third eye. There has to be a trinity of some sort to escape the dialect. The third eye concept, again, with the Trinity, to me, it's just God looking down on the two fighting factions and thinking of it like that. When you have a bird's eye view of what's going on, right? If you understand what I'm saying, it just helps you make better decisions. It helps you understand what's going on when you can take yourself out of it. And again, it's crazy to think about, but this is a skill that most people do not have. You will see this in your day-to-day life just by asking simple questions. You could even ask just basic questions, logical questions, right? Just using the basic Socratic method. You can get out of so many people that they don't really know what they're talking about when they get passionate about things. But that's another thing. They get passionate about things. They have emotional responses to things. They don't actually know how to use logic. They don't know how to not take things personally. That's another skill for this, is like somebody can say something to you that you completely disagree with, and you can like call them an idiot or whatever. Like, I'm just saying you don't have to take it personally, because it's like what Socrates said. He said, know thyself, right? If you know what triggers you, you can use that to be like, okay, that does trigger me, but I can like just study that, right? Like, say, again, if you're a woman and like, say, manspreading offends you, right? And again, this goes easier for men, but you do what I did. You say, okay, why does manspreading offend me? You ask the question, why does that offend me? You figure out why, and you'll probably come to the conclusion that, well, like something told me that I should be offended by this, because it's such a stupid thing, like manspreading. It's such a dumb thing that under any scrutiny, you'll realize that it was not an organic idea. Someone told you this, which means by its nature, it's propaganda. Then you ask the next question, who told me this? And you see what I'm doing? It's that simple. You just keep asking questions until you get to where you'll go all the way back to the suffragette movement. This is how you do it with anything. You can get to the bottom of anything by just asking the first question, getting the answer, asking the next question until you're satisfied. And so, yeah, that's kind of the video. This will be scheduled out, so you guys will be watching this later, but this was a good one. It was timely. I was thinking about making a video about trying to explain how to understand what's going on. I've kind of talked about it in my previous videos, but I wanted to kind of make maybe like a sanity type video of like, if I've said before, like, one of my favorite, I'm not a comic book guy at all. I think like most of the superhero stuff is cringe, but one of my favorite heroes will always be Batman, because Batman is like, he's like this embodied in comic books. He's just like ultimate masculinity, regardless of what the liberal writers have done, right? I know the liberal writers have wrote that he doesn't kill and blah, blah, blah. I know the history of Batman, but the thing that I like about Batman is he's like afraid of bats, right? They go over this in The Dark Knight. He's afraid of bats, but he's like, I'm afraid of bats, but like the criminals also could be afraid of bats, right? And so he uses that. So that's kind of like what I'm saying, is like you can have like a Batman mind with these kind of things, where you look at it from the third eye Trinitarian perspective, where you're like looking above it, you're like analyzing it for what it is instead of how you react to it, if that's making sense. So I feel like I've repeated myself, reiterated. You're going to experience this in your life. Like I just gave you an example of what I just experienced, but you can experience these all kinds of, especially in the workforce. The workforce, it's unfortunate because you can get fired if you don't know how to handle this, but it's another reason why corporate America is completely fake and completely gay and absolutely cringe. But it is a political game that you have to navigate if you are unfortunate like me and still have to work a 9 to 5. But yeah, I hope that all makes sense. Again, thank you guys if you watched this entire 30-minute plus video here. I am Joey. This is the Jigsaw097 channel. If you guys like this, please subscribe and please like the video. Appreciate it very much. Also, comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. But that is all. I will talk to you all later.